Please use the worksheet 1AA, Exploring Rules for Multiplying and Dividing Integers, while you watch this video. The first thing we're going to do is step number 1. You need to fill out the multiplication array below. So in order to fill this out, what you'll do is you'll actually take the number on the left column and multiply it by the number on the top, and you write the answer in between. So one example would be this one right here, where you're actually going to take 3 times 2 and you'll write 6 in the box. So this is what it would actually look like, where you're actually going to write the number inside. Go ahead and pause the video and fill in the rest of the boxes in your multiplication array. In this array, you are always taking a positive number and multiplying by another positive integer. The answer, or product of 2 positive integers, is always going to be positive. We'll use blue to represent positive integers. This is what your array should look like for number 1. Now we'll look at number 2. You need to complete the following steps for the array below. First, I want you to fill out the bottom half of the array using the answer to problem 1. So that's what you see on the bottom here. We have all the answers filled out, just like we had for question 1. Then I want you to color the top 4 rows red and the bottom 4 rows blue with a colored pencil or crayon. Leave the 0 row blank. What you need to do now is fill out the answers to the array in the space above. For example, if we take -4 times 1, we will get the answer -4. And your array will look like this. Pause the video and take a few minutes to fill in the rest of the array. This is what your completed array should look like. This portion of the array, we were taking a negative integer and multiplying it by a positive integer. As you can see by our answers, the product of a positive and negative integer is always negative. We will use red to represent our negative integers. Now let's look at step 3 of our worksheet. Complete the following steps for the array. Step A, fill out the right-hand side of the array using the answer from problem 2. So this side right here will fill out based on what we had for number 2. B, continue the pattern in each row or column to fill out the left side of the array. So we're going to continue the pattern here by taking -4 times -4 and writing our answer inside. We will color the top left section blue, the top right section red, the bottom left section red, and the bottom right section blue. We will leave the 0 row and column blank. Please pause the video and take a few minutes to color in your array and fill in your answers. This is what your completed array should look like. As you can see by the array, if you take a positive times a negative, as in the example seen, you will get a negative answer, always. If you take a negative integer and multiply it by a positive, you will also get a negative answer. The product of a positive and negative integer is always negative. The order of the negative and positive does not matter. So if you take a positive and multiply it by a negative, you'll get a negative. Or if you take a negative times a positive, you will still get a negative answer. If you multiply 2 negative integers, as seen in this portion of the array, the product of 2 negative integers will always give you a positive answer. So if we take a negative times a negative, we will always get a positive answer. That's why this portion of the array is colored in blue. Now let's look at step 4. We need to fill out the division array below. On the left-hand column, you'll see the numerator, and on the top, you'll see the denominator. So as an example, if we take 18 and divide it by 3, we can write our answer inside, which is 6. So here's an example of what it would look like. Now, complete the rest of the division array by filling in the rest of the boxes. Please pause the video and then press play when you're finished. This is what your completed array should look like for step 4. When you take a positive and divide it by a positive, the quotient will always be a positive answer. Now let's look at step 5 of your handout. It says, complete the following steps for the array below. First, fill out the bottom half of the array by using the answer to problem 4. As you can see, I have an example for you. Then find patterns within the array and use them to fill out the top half of the array. Color the top 4 rows red and the bottom 4 rows blue, and leave the 0 row blank. Please pause the video and then press play when you're finished. This is what your completed array should look like. The quotient, or answer, when you divide a positive and negative integer is always going to be negative. So if we take a negative divided by a positive, we will get a negative answer. Now let's look at step 6. It says, complete the following steps for the array below. Part A, fill out the right-hand side of the array using the answer from problem 5. Use the rule we discovered to fill out the lower left-hand section. Continue the pattern and fill in the upper left-hand section. Color the top left section blue, the top right section red, the bottom left section red, and the bottom right section blue. Leave the 0 row and column blank. Pause the video and press play when you're ready. This is what your completed array should look like. One important thing to remember when you're dividing is that the negative sign can be placed on the top, bottom, or in front of the fraction without changing the value of a fraction. Both of these division problems equal -8, as well as the third one with the negative sign right in the middle. As we can see by the results in our array, the quotient of two negatives, or if you take two negatives and divide them, the answer will always be a positive answer. So therefore, if we take a negative divided by a negative, we will get a positive, always.